What's up guys, CJ here, and welcome back to another all-new Game of Thrones review, this time for Season 7, Episode 6, Beyond the Wall. What an episode. It was honestly maybe one of my favorites of all time, and really probably the single most impactful episode of the entire series, despite only really focusing on a handful of characters in two storylines. But for more, let's dive into a quick plot recap. As I said, the episode basically follows two major storylines, the events beyond the Wall and the events at Winterfell. At Winterfell, the tensions between Arya and Sansa is growing literally by the minute. On the one side, Arya tells her sister she has the letter, calls her a coward, and more or less holds her responsible for their father's death. And on the other, Sansa says Arya really didn't do much to stop it either, and finds her faces, leading to one of the really pulse-pounding scenes of the episodes, as you're not sure if Arya is going to kill her sister or not. But beyond the Wall is where the bulk of the episode lies, as the Westerosi A-Team heads out to catch themselves a white, starting with a good long march, which gives us some great interactions between characters that we've never seen cross paths before. Finally, they find what they're looking for, a small group of whites and an other split from the main pack. Setting a trap, they ambush the group and successfully kill the other, which Phantom Menace style apparently shuts off all of the other whites he turned, but one, so now they've got their evidence. This one's a yeller, though, and soon he attracts the rest of the army of the dead. So, knowing the death is literally approaching, Jon wisely sends Gendry back to the Wall to send a raven south to Daenerys to tell her what's happened. This all leads to another gripping scene, as what remains of our Magnificent Seven flees from the undead horde and ends up stuck on an island in the middle of a frozen lake. It's a Mexican standoff. The whites won't advance because the lake could collapse, but they're already dead, so they're content to let the cold of the north pick off our daring suicide squad. And while it doesn't get all of them, it does get poor wounded Thoros, so tonight be sure to pour one out for the drunken priest. We really honestly don't know how long they were sitting there for. I mean, it could have been days, it could have been literally hours, but eventually the whites do attack. So surrounded, all looks lost for our crew when who else comes to save the day but the Mother of Dragons, with all three kids in tow. Raining fire and destruction down on the zombies, something that I think all of us fans have wanted to see since the very beginning, as she lands to get everyone on board while Jon fights off the whites. Unfortunately, he gets a little caught up in the moment, and while Dany sits there waiting, the Night's King lets everyone know he's the reigning zombie javelin toss champ and kills Viserion with a spear of ice. Jon nobly stays behind while the Queen flies off and is saved by Uncle Benjen, who gives Johnny Boy his horse back to the Wall and goes out in a Ghost Ridery blaze of glory. Jon then wakes up on Daenerys' ship and into an important conversation. She tells him the dragons are the only children she'll ever have, just in case he's thinking about that sort of thing, but she believes him about the Night's King now, which is pretty key. Oh, and since he's lying there shirtless, she kinda knows he died too, but that's not brought up. Jon says, "Better late than never, my queen. Yes, I'll bend the knee, and probably in more ways than one. Heyo." Our little final scene stinger is a doozy, as the rumors were true. The Night's King wakes Viserion, and ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves an ice dragon. Whew, okay, oh boy, that was a lot to take in, even though this was really one of the most narrowly focused episodes of the show. It's all pulse-pounding action, so even if you just watched this recap, go find the episode and watch it right now. Personally, from just a fan perspective, I loved it. I mean, it was a little teaser of hopefully what's more to come next year as the War for the Dawn Round 2 really begins, but this first little skirmish was almost everything I could have hoped for. I mean, dragons, flaming swords, ice bears, ice zombies being lit on fire, great character interactions. It was amazing, and it was really just fan wish fulfillment in the best ways possible. Really though, one of my favorite parts about the episode was its slower pace, something that really has been missing this season with all the action and the storylines converging and the characters needing to get to where they need to go. But with this narrow focus, we got several scenes that were just allowed to breathe, you know? I mean, the characters just essentially came to life in the scene and they were just interacting with one another. That first part of the episode, the march north of the Wall in particular, was just spectacular for that. I mean, HBO, please tell me one of the spinoffs you're looking at is a Tormund and The Hound show, because I really never knew I needed that until now. But even seemingly smaller interactions like Jon and Jorah or Jorah and Thoros were all great, and it was nice to see, as I said, characters we've never seen in a scene together just talk to one another and interact with each other. It was something you don't think is cool until you see it, and then you're like, wow, that's really cool. In an episode full of ice zombies and dragons, the whole storyline with Arya and Sansa really probably had me on the edge of my seat more, and in true Thrones fashion, it's really morally gray. I mean, both sides make some excellent points about the other, despite the fact that I think most people will side with Arya as a character preference, so really though, I can't wait to see how that plays out. There were some issues in the episode. I wouldn't feel right just leaving them. I couldn't help but notice these. They really did not detract from it too much. That's how good the episode was, but I think they bear mentioning. First, at this point in the season, we kind of have to talk about travel time. I mean, is it just me, or has Westeros gotten a lot smaller this season? Journeys that used to take several episodes have taken minutes, literally whole, scenes, maybe, which can be explained as a faster pace, of course, but it was especially notable in this episode when you have people marching north of the wall, then running back to the wall, then the fastest raven that's ever flown south flying to Dragonstone, then Daenerys flying back, all in time to save our guys that are basically sitting there on the island. And as I said, we don't know how long they were sitting there. They could have been there for days. I mean, judging by the lighting in that scene, I think we're led to believe it was at least one day, but it could have been 2, 3, or maybe even more. Secondly, the whole thing with Jon going back to fight the Whites after almost getting on the dragon. At first, I thought he was just holding them off so they could escape, but they all got on and he didn't beeline back. And then I thought it might have been related to him going after the Night's King, as he and Beric kind of talked about that briefly early in the episode, but he really never made a move in the Night's King's direction. So without it being mentioned, we don't know what he was doing other than just holding the whole group up. All in all, though, I'll give this episode a 9.5 out of 10 on its own, really even with those issues. It was one of the most memorable single episodes of the show to date. Game of Thrones just in top form. I mean, pulse-pounding action on the battlefield and equally gripping intrigue in the political arena. So let me know what you thought of the episode and what you think happens in next week's Season 7 finale in the comment section down below, but that's going to do it for me here. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to smash that like if you like what you saw, subscribe for more great content every single day, and consider turning on your notifications to be alerted every time we upload a new video. Signing off, this is CJ and I'll see you next time.